I'd like to give a big shout out to the HOODOO Gurus, who have given us permission to use part of their song, That's My Team, as our new podcast episode intro for all of their music. And whenever they are going live or performing live, head to their Facebook and their Instagram. The links will be in the description below. Be sure to give them a like and a follow as well on Facebook and Instagram. Hello everyone, welcome back to the Final Tackle podcast. Joining us today, as we always have a guest, Matt Frawley. Thanks very much for joining us today, mate.
No worries, mate. Thanks for having me.
No dramas. So I guess first of all, let's get stuck into it. Your NRL debut, was for the Bulldogs. What was it like running onto the field, and more or less, the first ever first grade game for you?
Yeah, obviously it was a pretty special moment. It was, I think everyone sort of describes it as probably a career highlight, and I suppose a dream come true. So yeah, it was a very special night for me and my family, my friends, and I was sort of it was probably a long time coming in one sense, but I was had to wait my time there at the Dogs. We had some good players at the time, and I had to wait for an opportunity. So I think Moses and he got charged with a shoulder charge in the week before, and I was sort of aiming for me to lead into that. So sort of knew early on that I was going to get a start. So mate, it was awesome. We got the win, which was also good, and even though it was a Thursday night game against the Broncos,
that would have been
at
fun.
ANZ when it was raining, so there's probably only a couple of thousand people there. It probably wasn't the big crowd and the big atmosphere that you're sort of expecting, but I think NRL debuts, you'll take whatever you can get. And, it's a night I'll never forget.
No, that's fair. And actually, speaking of the Bulldogs and the Broncos, they actually take on each other this week up in Suncorp. With the Bulldogs and the Broncos game this week, it's more or less a do-or-die game for both teams involved. Who do you think is going to get the win?
Yeah, it's obviously both clubs are going through some pretty tough times at the moment, and I suppose I've sort of been in a similar position there at the Dogs where we've lost some games in a row, and it's games and footy. Winning games is hard to come by, and I think both teams are sort of just struggling for confidence. But I think it's going to be a close game. I think there's definitely no lack of effort with both teams. So.
Mm-hmm. If you can't pick a team, what do you reckon the winning margin will be then?
Well, I'll say I think the Broncos might get the points in a pretty close one. I'd say.
So like 4-6 sort of margin.
Yeah, I think so. I think it'll be pretty tight, but you never know.
That's very true. You definitely do never know when it comes to these sort of games. Obviously, after your time with the Bulldogs, you headed over to England and played in the Super League for a little bit with Huddersfield. What was the change like? Not just obviously rules and whatnot in Super League, but the whole culture difference over in England for you.
Yeah, it was obviously a big change. It was something I sort of didn't take lightly to go over there. It's a big move for myself and my partner, and it's a long way from home. So you sort of you got to get used to being on the other side of the world. But mate, it was awesome. I enjoyed the experience, and it's a bit, as everyone says, it's pretty cold, sort of miserable place. But the people are really good, and I met some really good mates over there, and I've got no regrets going over there. Obviously, the positives have been over there is away from footy, you get to travel and have a bit more of that sort of lifestyle, which is awesome.
You've got a lot more countries at your arsenal to go and travel, really. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, every time we got a week off, we try to head over to Europe or down in London or something like that.
Yep, and when you would go and play Catalans down in Perpignan, would you take the time out to go and see the sights a little bit while you were doing your week there sort of training?
Yeah. So we spent a couple of nights down there, which was good. It's obviously, I think we were a bit unlucky. We played them pretty early on in the year, so it was still winter. But if you can get them sort of midway through the year when it's starting leading into summer, I think that'd be lovely. That's the go. But obviously Perpignan was really nice, and we got to travel sort of as much as we could, which was awesome. I think one of the things over there too is you probably don't get as much time as you'd like to, just because there's so much footy being played over there. It's sort of a 30. 30 game comp.
Yeah, that's including the Challenge Cup and all that as well. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, so you end up playing. I don't know if you. I think you're sort of playing upwards of 30 plus games, and including trials and that sort of stuff. So it's a pretty long season. But yeah, every time we got the opportunity, we definitely did as much travel as we could.
No, that's awesome. And then obviously you come back after Huddersfield for this year with the Raiders, which is actually more or less your junior club, for lack of a better term, because you grew up as a local in Canberra. What was it like, when Sticky told you, look, I want you here at Canberra sort of thing?
Yeah, mate, it was a bit of a, I suppose, journey to get back here. I still had another year running on my deal in Huddersfield, and the club had signed C's to go there, Aiden Caesar, which I was comfortable with, and
that helped you get back to Australia.
Well, yeah, I suppose there was an opportunity. I had an opportunity to sort of come back here, and I wasn't sure where it was going to be, whether it be Canberra or anywhere else. So I actually went back to Huddersfield in the pre-season. And sort of just started their pre-season, sort of knowing that I wasn't going to be there, but just to buy my time and wait for something to pop up. And lucky enough for me, Canberra offered me a deal. It was only a development deal at the time, but luckily enough, had a good pre-season and got upgraded and extended for next year as well. So
that's really good.
Yeah, so it ended up being a good move, and coming back home, and Canberra's where all my family and my friends are, and I love the club. Obviously, I was a junior as well, so it's pretty awesome to sort of to go full circle and come back to Canberra.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. Did you follow Canberra as a kid, or was it a different club that you followed?
Yeah, and I was a massive Raiders fan. My sort of earliest memories of footy is probably going to Canberra Stadium when the team probably wasn't travelling as good. There's only a couple of thousand people there on a pretty cold Canberra's night, but my whole family. My dad's a big Raiders fan. My brother, and my whole family. So to be back at the club where, as I said before, to be back at the club where I supported as a young kid and my family loves. It's pretty cool.
That's pretty awesome. While you were over in the Super League, which team was the toughest to go up against mentally and physically?
Yeah, I'd probably have to say St Helens. I think they were the benchmark last year. I don't know. I'm not sure how many games they lost. I think they only
wasn't that many.
Lost yeah, I think they and I think the games that they did lose, they sort of rested a few players. So, we were unlucky. We drew them in our Challenge Cup, our first game of our Challenge Cup over there as well. So I think we end up playing them 5 times in the year, or 4 times. Sorry. Played them 3 times in the Super League and once in the Challenge Cup. So, that were probably the benchmark. And then, I'd probably have to say Warrington as well. They got some quality players there, and I think we played them twice and didn't get a result either. But that for me, them 2 teams are probably definitely the standouts.
No, that's fair enough. And actually, speaking of St Helens, one of my neighbours, he's a diehard Bulldogs fan, and obviously the connection with St Helens is James Graham. He wants to know, what was it like to play alongside more or less a true tough as nails old breed player like James Graham?
Yeah, mate, I can't speak highly enough of Jam of James. He's he was our captain at the time when I was there, and you couldn't ask for a better leader on the field and off it. He's terrific for everyone, whether he's a young bloke or a guy coming through or someone that's been at the club for a while. He sort of he stood up for everyone, and he's just an awesome bloke, and obviously his record on the field speaks for itself. So he's someone I loved playing with. He's probably one of my most favourite players I played with, and I'm happy to see him go home and finish back at St Helens where it all started for him.
Very similar to you in the sense, I'm not saying you're going to retire this year or next year or anything, but it's come full circle for more or less for you as well with the Raiders. I think that's great. Exactly. Now, switching to the same sort of question that I just had for the Super League, but with the NRL. So far, while your time with the Bulldogs and your time with the Raiders so far, which team has been the most mentally and physically challenging or toughest to go up against in the NRL for you?
Yeah, it's probably I think it's probably an obvious answer in one sense. It's probably the Roosters when they're that their record again speaks for itself, and it's not only their roster but just the way they play their footy. Especially now, I think you can see with the 6 again rule and that sort of stuff. Their standard of play, so their style of play really suits that. So I think they're only going to get better with that. So yeah, they're definitely probably the benchmark. And then when I was a couple of years ago when I was at the Dogs, Melbourne was still and they're still a great team, but they were also the benchmark with Smith and Slater, Munster and Cronk there. So yeah, they're probably the two off the top of my head. But I think in the NRL is even though there's good teams and not so good teams, you got to be out for every game. Yeah, exactly. You got to be out for every game because you can get caught napping and the results won't go your way.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And speaking of the Storm, the Raiders are actually taking on the Storm this week, and I've tipped the Raiders purely because the form with the Raiders against the Storm over the last few times you guys have encountered them, 3 in a row wins against the Storm, and that's not an easy feat to do. And you guys are playing at home. How have you guys been preparing with training and whatnot? And what has Sticky been trying to instill with the lads to go up against the Storm this weekend?
Yeah, I think obviously you said we've got a pretty good record against them recently. We had a really good win against them after the COVID breakdown in Melbourne, and that was probably the best game of the year for us.
For sure.
So yeah, it's going to be a big challenge. I think they're going to definitely be wanting to make amends for that game, and but yeah, we've had a big week of training. We had the luxury of having a bit of a longer turnaround, so we've been able to work on a few things, which is good, and I think we got the result last week, but we probably weren't as happy as a squad of how we sort of played and sort of finished in that game last week. So plenty to work on, but I think we're trending up, and hopefully we'll get the result on Saturday.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. And obviously speaking of Ricky Stewart, who's a legend among the Raiders, how did he help you guys and the squad, etc., during COVID and the COVID break? And how is he going with you guys since the restart? Because you guys were based out at, I think it was like Campbelltown or Bankstown for quite a few weeks, and now you're back at home. How was he with you and all the lads, sort of thing, during that time?
Yeah, he was really good, mate. He, he's a great sort of people manager. Stick. He gets the best out of his players, and we were all sort of in contact with him and all the other staff during the break to just to make sure we're all going good and still training, and physically and mentally, I think everyone came out of that break pretty well. I know they were happy with how everyone sort of returned to training, and we didn't have too many boys that were put on a few COVID kilos, but I think it was he's been awesome, and then obviously coming back into the competition, it's just trying to hit the ground running as quick as we can, and obviously we did that in the first couple of weeks. We've had a few setbacks, and especially now it's going to be a bit tough with the injuries we've got, but we've talked about it as a group to everyone's got to step up, and the whole squad's really looking forward to the challenge.
Yeah, no, that's good. Just a few more sort of topics and questions. What routine do you have for a pre-game? And if you don't have one, who do you think out of the teams that you've played for has the weirdest pre-game routine?
Yeah, I've got a bit of a pre-game. I don't think weird superstition I've got is I always got to warm up with my socks down and play with my socks up. I don't know why I do it, but it just works for me. That's probably one of them. But in terms of pre-game, I sort of just try to relax as much as I can. I don't get too nervous before games, which is good. Sort of just try to kick back and not overthink the game too much. But in terms of other plays, I think again James Graham, he had a few weird ones.
Yeah, what were some of them? If you could let us know.
Well, I think he used to take, like, I don't know how many pairs of boots, but he'd take 10 pairs of boots or something of the game, and always wear the same pair. But
always wear the same pair, but he'd take 10 though.
Yeah, something like that. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was something like that. And you wouldn't want to. He had his little quirks that he used to do. But I don't think we've got a few boys that like a vomit bit of pre-game nerves at the Raiders, but I think that's pretty standard amongst amongst the players. But yeah, in terms of, I haven't come across too many weird ones so far.
No, that's fair. If you could have a superpower, what would it be and why?
Well, if it was probably related to rugby league, I'd probably want to be a little bit faster than what I am. I don't think speed's one of my best traits. So maybe, I don't know, what's the little kid off The Incredibles? What's he got? Super speed or something?
Yeah, another one you mean, yeah.
Yeah, maybe something like that would be good. Be handy on the footy field, but yeah, I'd probably have to roll with that one.
That's fair enough. And speaking of The Incredibles, what's your favourite movie at the moment?
Favorite movie? That's a tough one. I don't know. I obviously we haven't been able to go to the movies for a long time. I'll give you a Netflix series that I'm watching.
Yep.
Money Heist.
Oh, okay. I've heard of that. Is that good?
Yeah, it's really good. Yeah, it's there's a couple of we've nearly finished the series. It's Spanish, but it's been dubbed with English voiceover, which is a little bit off-putting, but storyline's really good. And
if you can follow the storyline, then the English dub sort of is like negated by the storyline.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that's probably the thing what we're watching the most at the moment.
Well, I'll definitely have to get onto that.
I'll have to get on it.
And I got two more things. First of all, what's your beer of choice at the moment?
Beer of choice? I'm pretty just stock standard. I used to like the craft beers and everything, but I've gone off them. So just Great Northern's probably our go-to. It's what we get in the sheds as well, which is good. So yeah, probably just that, mate.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. And one last question is, do you have any advice for any kids that are wanting to, maybe make it in the big leagues one day?
Yeah, probably just everyone sort of says it, I suppose, but work ethic's probably a big one. And I think you look at all the players that do make a career. I think a lot of them aren't sort of freak talents when they're young, but they just really work hard at their game, and they're willing to listen to their coaches and the people that are trying to give them advice. So I think if you're willing to learn and willing to work hard and you really want it, you're going to go a long way to achieving.
Yeah, like the other day when I think it was Henry Perenara that I had as a guest, or it was one of my most recent guests, they said hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work. Yeah,
exactly, mate. And I think, I played with some players when I was young that you'd sort of almost guarantee that they were going to make NRL with how talented they were, but for whatever reason didn't make it because they probably didn't have the work ethic or whatnot. So I think that's important. I think in anything in life, you sort of got to work hard for it. So
for sure.
That's probably the number one.
No, that's fair enough. And honestly, that's more or less all the questions and topics I've got.
No dramas. Thanks for having me on.
No worries. Thank you very much, and take it easy.
Thanks, mate. Cheers.